In today's video, I'm going to be making this delicious tea loaf. This is a traditional British recipe. A tea loaf is like a sweet bread made with sultanas and tea. That's the same kind of tea that we drink. The sultanas are soaked in tea before you start baking. Tea loaf is different to a tea cake. If you order a tea cake in an English cafe, you'll get something that looks like a bread roll. It's round, and this also contains sultanas or raisins, but it tastes more like bread. This tea loaf is somewhere between bread and cake. So it's not quite the same texture as cake, but it's not bread either. Make it and see how it tastes. Let's get started. When you make tea bread, you need to plan a few hours in advance. The reason for this is that the sultanas need to soak in tea. The name tea bread comes from the tea that we use to soak the sultanas. I'm using Earl Grey tea to soak my sultanas just because I like the flavour. You can use any kind of tea, plain black tea, green tea, or any flavoured tea that you think would be nice. Take a mug of tea and just pour it over your sultanas in a bowl. You need 225 grams of sultanas and put these in a bowl with a mug of tea. I have a mug of tea here. This is strongly brewed tea. That just means I left the tea bag in the water for a few minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, to make nice strongly flavoured tea. And there's no milk and no sugar in this. So just the tea. You need 1 mugful and pour it over your sultanas. Because these need to soak for a few hours, I made some earlier. Here are my soaked sultanas. You can see they're quite plump. They've soaked up the tea and they're now fat, soft sultanas. So they will taste really delicious in the tea bread. You need to leave your sultanas soaking for at least 2 hours, but you can leave them longer. I actually started making this 3 days ago and then didn't get a chance to finish. So these have been soaking for 3 days. I've tasted them, they're still good. So we're going to make the tea bread now. As always, step 1 is to turn on your oven. Turn the temperature to 160 degrees Celsius. That's 325 Fahrenheit. Pour your sultanas and tea into a bowl. We're going to add 110 grams of sugar. Stir that in. The next ingredient is half a teaspoon of orange extract. You don't have to add this. This is optional, but I think a hint of orange flavour is really nice with this. That was too much. That was a full teaspoon. It will be more orangey. Never mind, I like oranges. Next is 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. Let's see if I can measure this correctly. Probably not. There we go. I love cinnamon anyway. I always put more cinnamon than the recipe says because I really like it. We need some flour in here. We're going to add 230 grams of flour. add some baking powder. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. If you have self-raising flour, you don't need the baking powder. I'm using plain flour, which has nothing in it to make the cake rise, so I need baking powder. 2 teaspoons and mix it in. This mixture is quite dry. We don't add any butter or oil to this recipe. Because it's quite dry, I'm going to add a splash of water. When a recipe tells you that it needs a splash of water or a splash of milk, it means just add a very small amount until it looks right. So you have to just stir it in and decide when you think it is okay. I know that's not very accurate, and for the scientists among you that might be quite frustrating, but a splash, maybe between 30 and 50 millilitres. Just experiment. I'm going to mix it and see if it still looks very dry. That's still quite dry. The mixture is not sticking together, so I'm going to add a little bit more. That's better. This mixture is now sticking together. It looks more like cake mixture. So I'm going to leave it at that. This is enough water. I'll be cooking this in a loaf tin. If you have a recipe that's described as a loaf or a loaf cake, then it should be cooked in a loaf tin. This just means a tin that's shaped like a rectangle. A rectangular baking tin. This is a loaf tin. This mixture is still quite thick, so I'm going to spread it across the tin. It smells delicious. It smells very strongly of cinnamon and orange. I'm going to put it in the oven. It takes quite a long time to cook. So this is being cooked at a fairly low temperature for a long time. The recipe says from 1 hour to 1¼ hours. So 1 hour and 15 minutes. I will try it after 1 hour. I'll let you know at the end how long it took. It's been 1 hour. I've just taken my tea loaf out of the oven and I'm going to check if it's done. Most recipes will say cook until a knife comes out clean. The meaning of this is that you stick a knife into the middle of your cake, and if it is clean, so there's no wet cake mixture here, then the cake is done. So my tea loaf is finished. It took 1 hour to cook, but if you get some wet cake mixture on your knife after 1 hour, then put it back in the oven for another 5 or 10 minutes. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments if you made your own tea loaf. See you soon. Bye.